To all of our guests, you're our honored guest tonight. We're so glad to have you. On Sunday evenings last month, we were featuring the men that we've been sending out to other congregations to help them when they needed a fill-in, when they needed help between preachers. We've got such talent here in this congregation. We have one more that I haven't given you the opportunity to hear, so tonight we're going to hear our own John Enloe.
Doug Dotson came in carrying a paper bag this evening. He said he brought supper when he heard I was preaching tonight. He literally said that. So I appreciate the opportunity to be up here again tonight, and I'm excited about what we're going to be studying tonight, and I hope it's helpful. Am I doing that right? No. There we go. All right. The greatest teacher of all, the carpenter from the plains of Galilee, Jesus the Christ, gave us the greatest secret of all times. What you think about, you bring about. Now, he never said that in those exact words, but he lived it. You know, I've been blessed on Sunday mornings to have the opportunity to teach the Young Professionals class. And I actually call it the Successful Young Professionals class, because that's what we all should strive to be, right? Not just young, but successful. All right. The Lord doesn't want us to live in poverty. He doesn't want us to struggle so hard to get by, to make a living, or to support our family that we have no time to bring others to the Lord or to even study His Word. He wants to bless us. He wants us to make the most of ourselves. And we read in Jeremiah 29, verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I'm going to do a little plug for my class real quick. Sorry, Russ, I don't want to steal from your class on Sunday mornings, but I'm going to proselyte here just a little bit. You know, this class that I'm teaching in the fellowship hall, it's not just for the young, it's not just for the professional. Anyone can benefit from this class because we are changing the way we think. And I would like to invite anyone to attend this class because it will change your life. You know, a lot of times, young professionals can get lost in their spiritual walk while pursuing their professional goals. And this class has been designed to not only bring you closer in your personal relationship with Jesus, but to give you the tools necessary to succeed in your professional life. And when your spiritual walk and your professional goals are in harmony, there is no limit to what you can achieve. You know, this morning in our class, we set out to write our goals for 2019. You know, you set goals so you can grow. Think about this. Out of everything God created, we are God's highest creation. That's powerful. Why on earth would we want to stay where we are? Growth is life. We as God's creations want to make things bigger, make it better. We want to run faster. We want to jump higher. And you can if you have a goal. And no one can even guess what we're each capable of doing if we have a goal. One of my favorite mentors, I have several mentors in my life. I have my spiritual mentor, Brother Stephen Guy. I have my chiropractic mentor, Dr. Rick Franks. And I have my success mentor, Bob Proctor. And he's quoted as saying this, and I can see him holding this pen just like this, and he says, "With this pen, I can change the world. I can take an idea from my mind and put it on paper. And then on that paper, I can map out a plan to make that idea a reality." This is called goal setting. Take your pen and change the world. Bob Proctor. That's powerful. So as we did that this morning, we did something different as well. You know, I've always set goals for my professional life. I think a lot of us have. You know, what numbers of patients I want to see this year, how many I want to serve, the financial statistics I want to hit by a certain time. But I know this sounds crazy, but it never occurred to me to set goals for my spiritual life. Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's the most important thing that we could ever do. I mean, what we accomplish in this life means nothing if we don't make it to heaven. So in class this morning, we set goals for our spiritual life this year. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I know what my goal is. My goal is to go to heaven. Well, that is the end goal. That is the long-term goal. That's what it's all about. But what are we doing to get there? What goals have you set to help you achieve this? This is where our short-term goals come into play. Let me give you an example. First one. How many people are you planning on bringing to the Lord this year? Have you thought about that? How many home Bible studies are you planning on setting up this year? Have you thought on that? How many people are you going to invite to services on a daily basis this year? 5? 7? However many people you come into contact with? You see, this is goal setting. And most people drive through life without even being bothered to write down their goals. Very few people have specific and measurable goals, and even fewer have written these down. An even smaller amount have thought of a specific plan to make these goals a reality. And if you write down goals and you don't have a plan, it's not a goal list, it's a wish list. When we're talking about goals this evening. Forbes magazine, they published an amazing study 2 years ago about goal setting carried out in the Harvard MBA program. Harvard's graduate students were asked if they had set clear written goals for their futures, as well as if they had made specific plans to transform their fantasies into realities. Here's the results. Only 3% of the students had written goals and plans to accomplish them. 3%. 13% had goals in their minds, but hadn't written them down anywhere. And 84% at Harvard MBA program had no goals at all. Think for a moment this evening. Which group would you be in? All right, after 10 years, the same group of students were interviewed again. And the conclusion of this study is astounding. The 13% of the class who had goals but did not write them down earned twice as much than the 84% that had no goals. But get this. The 3% who had written goals, who had written them down with a plan to reach them, were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% combined. That's powerful. Now, this article focuses on the financial or the value, the worth, but the lesson is the same. People who don't write down their goals tend to fail. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's that simple. Failures, on the other hand, believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that are happening to them, by exterior forces. Think with me, if you will, and I used this analogy in class this morning. Think of a ship leaving a harbor. Think of it with the complete voyage mapped out and planned. The captain and the crew know exactly where the ship is going and how long it will take. It has a definite goal. And 9,999 times out of 10,000, that ship will get to where it started. Now let's take another ship. Just like the first, identical ship, only let's not put a crew on it. Let's not put a captain at the helm. Let's give it no aiming point, no goal, no destination. We just start the engines up and let her go. I think you'll agree with me that ship will be lucky if it gets out of the harbor, right? But we definitely know that ship will sink or be a shipwrecked derelict, rusting on a beach somewhere. It can't go any place because it has no destination and no guidance. This evening, as Christians, are we taking goal setting seriously? Are we thinking on what we want to accomplish this year? And before you answer that question, let me ask you another question, because I love asking multiple questions. Do you think the Apostle Paul set goals? Absolutely, the Apostle Paul set goals. You don't accomplish what this man accomplished by not having your mind on what you want to accomplish. You know, in Acts chapter 22 and verse 3, he described himself as being zealous. And the definition of zealous is right there. Hopefully you guys can see it, can read it. But different words: fervent, passionate, committed, dedicated. You guys know the difference between dedicated and committed, right? The chicken is dedicated. The pig's committed. You get that? Well, think about it. All right. Wholehearted, fierce, single-minded. You see, a committed man, a fervent man, a single-minded man sets goals. You know, you could read the book of Acts and you could see all of his accomplishments for the Lord's church. He made 3 long missionary journeys throughout the Roman Empire, planting churches and preaching the gospel and giving strength and encouragement to early Christians. He established elders in every church. He wrote at least 13 of the 27 letters of the New Testament. He endured enormous physical hardships and persevered in the face of danger and persecution in the name of Jesus Christ. You know, in 2 Timothy, he wrote, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. You don't run a race without setting goals, mapping out an action plan to reach the finish line. They even have a phone app for that now, for running. This same man who was talked about in Acts 17 as one of these who has turned the world upside down. You don't turn the world upside down without having goals, without having an action plan. You know, Paul wrote in Colossians chapter 1 and verse 23, if you indeed continue in the faith, grounded and steadfast, and are not moved away from the hope of the gospel which you heard, which was preached to every creature under heaven, of which I, Paul, became a minister. You don't preach the gospel to every creature under heaven without a goal, without an action plan. So now we're talking about Paul and his goals tonight. Do you think the Apostle Paul wrote down his goals? I wonder what the Apostle Paul's goal list would have looked like. I wonder if it had been dynamic or just on a little scrap of paper. Did he write them down? Yes. You know, a man that accomplished and all that he did in his lifetime had to have written his goals, short-term and long-term. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you one tonight. In Romans chapter 15, verses 22 through 24, we can read this. Romans chapter 15, verses 22 through 24. For this reason, I also have been much hindered from coming to you. But now, no longer, having a place in these parts and having a great desire these many years to come to you, whenever I journey to Spain, I shall come to you. For I hope to see you on my journey and to be helped on my way there by you, if first I may enjoy your company for a while. Paul wanted to go to Spain. Did he get there? The Bible doesn't say. But he did put that in writing. And I truly believe, my personal opinion, I truly believe someone of Paul's accomplishments had written goals. Tonight, I want to give you a few tips to help set your spiritual goals for 2019. If you have a pen, if you have a paper, you take a few notes on this. This will change your life for 2019. And it's called the 10-goal method. And I stole this. I'll be honest, okay? It's from Brian Tracy. He's another success mentor. Step number 1 of the 10-goal method. Number 1, you grab a piece of paper and you write across the top, my 10 goals and today's date. Then you write 1 through 10 on the side. And you know what the hardest part about this is? Starting it. Isn't that always the hardest? Starting it. Just start writing those goals down. And as you continue to write these goals down, more ideas will come to the forefront of your mind, and you'll have more goal ideas when you get closer to number 10 than when you began. If so, keep going. Write them down. If you can do 20, do it. Step number 2. You must write them down as if they have already been achieved. This is called the magic wand technique. Imagine there are no limitations and believe that they already exist in your life. Step 3. Write your goals in the present tense so as to trick the subconscious mind into believing you've already achieved these goals. Tonight, I don't have the time to go into the science or the details of how this works. But your subconscious mind, you guys might not know this, your subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality or falsehood. You ever heard the idea of rose-colored glasses? All right. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference. It will believe what you tell it every time. Step number 4. Have your goals be written in the positive sense. What do I mean by the positive sense? You don't want to say, I will no longer be doing this, or I will no longer. That's in a negative sense. So you put it in the positive sense. Instead, say, I am now doing this. I am now accomplishing this. We do it in the positive sense. Step 5. Write your goals in a personal tense. Use the I action verb. For example, I conduct 3 Bible studies weekly. That's what I want to do. This is how the subconscious mind recognizes that this command is coming from the main office, from you. I am doing this. Step 6. After writing those 10 goals, following these steps, ask yourself this question when you look at these 10 goals written in front of you. What one goal on this list, if I could achieve it right now, would have the greatest positive impact on my life and those around me? Whatever your answer is, circle that goal. And this goal is now your major, definite purpose for 2019. That's your goal. Step 7. Make a plan and transfer your new primary goal to a clean sheet of paper and set a deadline to complete that goal. For example, I will achieve this goal. No, you don't say I will. You say, I achieve this goal on this date. You put it in the positive tense, acting as if you are already doing it. I achieve this goal by this date. Step 8. Make a list of the difficulties you will have to overcome and the additional information and skills you're going to have to acquire and the people whose cooperation you will need to achieve this goal. organize this information into a plan, and then take action immediately. That's the most important step between a goal list and a wish list. If you have no action plan, if you have no steps to take, it's a wish list. It's like a New Year's resolution. It lasts a week, and then it's gone. In Acts chapter 9, after Paul was baptized, we read in verse 20, immediately he preached the Christ in the synagogues, that he is the Son of God. The Apostle Paul took action immediately. And any action is fine on your goals, but it's important that you start right away in chipping away at the tasks that you need to accomplish. And finally, start practicing brainstorming or mindstorming on your goal. This process forces you to concentrate intensely on how to achieve your major, definite purpose. And then step 9, and this is it. Take a new sheet of paper and write your new, major, definite purpose on the top of that page in the form of a question. For example, if your new major purpose is to bring 20 souls to Christ, write it this way. How can I bring 20 souls to Christ by December 31st, 2019? And then write 20 answers to that question. You can write more than 20, but it must be 20 responses. By using this strategy at the start of this year, you are using this process to set yourself up for success for this entire year. And finally, what is one thing you can do today? Think of it this way. Tonight, before you go to bed, what is one thing you can do tonight to start moving closer to your 2019 spiritual goals? And that's it. That's how we set our goals and reach them. You know, this class I've been teaching, it's taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot, and I've loved teaching it. But the one thing I've learned is that this Bible, this book that I hold in my hand, this is the greatest self-help book of all time. You don't need to go to Barnes & Nobles. We don't need Amazon. It's the greatest how-to book of all time. It's the greatest success book of all time. In fact, every book out there today that claims to have the secret to life, to success, to riches, to wealth, to happiness, etc., they all get their major tenets from the Holy Scriptures, from the Bible. Remember these words from the Sermon on the Mount, and remember them well, but keep them constantly before you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh, receiveth. It's as marvelous and as simple as that. In fact, it's so simple that in our seemingly complicated world, it's difficult for an adult to understand that all we need is a goal and faith. What you think about, you bring about. You know, back in the 17th century, Sir Isaac Newton discovered the laws of physics, the law of gravity, the law of motion, the law of thermodynamics, etc. These God-given laws apply as much to human beings as they do to the movements of planets in the universe. Just as the law of gravity works without fail, so too does the law of attraction. That's a law. The law of attraction. The law of attraction states that what you think about, you bring about. This God-given law, just like gravity, cannot fail. Remember, you must become what you think about. And since you're thinking about your goal, you realize that soon it will be yours. In fact, it's really yours the moment you write it down and begin to think about it. And that's why Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8 is so powerful. Philippians 4 verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any virtue, if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. What we think about, we bring about. Brothers and sisters, tonight, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about Christ? Are you energized and empowered to set and reach goals, spiritual goals that you never thought or imagined? Did you guys know that in the 50s and 60s, the Churches of Christ was the fastest growing religious body in the United States? In 1960, estimates put total membership at 2.5 million members. What happened? Some blame complacency. Rich Little, a minister in Naperville, Illinois, he's quoted as saying, there's been a disconnect between the doctrine of evangelism and the practice of evangelism. While we passionately believe we should reach the lost, we are not passionately seeking them. We're not setting goals to reach them. Charles Cook, an instructor at the Sunset International Bible Institute in Lubbock, Texas, he shared that same concern. He's quoted as saying, we primarily convert our offspring. Basically, our kids become members. And only a small percentage of them are remaining active in the church as grown-ups. And not until the whole church, again, catches that evangelistic spirit will we experience growth and retain our young people like we did in the 50s and the 60s. Brothers and sisters, this evening, do you understand, do you see the importance now of setting goals, not only in your professional life, in your business life, but in your spiritual life? For not only for yourself, but for the church as a whole. Let's begin this year to bring the church back to the forefront of the world. We don't want the world in the church. We want the church in every corner of the world. And as they said in Acts 17, let's turn the world upside down. There might be those of you here tonight that have not put on Christ in baptism. This is the time we offer the invitation. If you hear the gospel, you believe, you repent, you confess, you can come down this aisle, give me your hand and God your heart, and we can baptize you here tonight. And then as 1 John chapter 1, verse 7 continues to state, you continue to walk in the light as He is in the light. You live that Christian life, and the blood of Christ will continually wash those sins away. You can do that tonight. There may be those of you tonight that have already put on Christ at baptism, are members of the Lord's church, but need to set some new goals. You need to come back to the Lord. You can do that tonight. Whatever your needs may be, I hope you'll come as we stand and sing.